you feeling unhappy or frustrated at work? Truity's Type Finder for the Workplace assessments are scientifically based and proven to help you enjoy work more. Hi, I'm Nikki from Truity.com. Truity has helped thousands of people understand their personality traits to help them know how they do their best work and how they best work with other people. Today, I'm having a follow-up interview with Bridget. I interviewed her a few weeks ago because there were some things at work that she was really struggling with. I had her take the Type Finder for the Workplace assessment to see what she could learn about herself and how that could help her enjoy her work more. As part of this interview series, Truity is offering 20% off your next Type Finder for the Workplace assessment. You can click on the link below to get it. So just to recap, Bridget is an agriculture teacher of high school students. She's on her 5th year of teaching, and she has had some really frustrating times at work lately. So frustrating for her that she had been considering leaving the profession. After I interviewed her a few weeks ago, she took the Type Finder assessment. She noticed several aspects of her personality that she didn't realize that where her reaction was actually making her situation worse. And she learned a lot more than that. So welcome back, Bridget. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Hello.
So last time we interviewed, we learned that you are an ESTJ, and so I'm looking at my notes just to catch myself up here. So one of the things that you talked about was realizing that when your authority is challenged, which is a daily multiple occasion with high school students, that when you respond to them, you have like you respond with even more authority and getting higher. I think if you said, getting, puffing up your chest in a metaphoric way, and how that you didn't realize that was actually making the situation worse with some of your students. And one of the other things that you had mentioned was how you are very detail oriented and you like to really handle a lot of things. And so micromanaging came up for you, and how the students don't respond well to that, but it's also hard for you to relinquish that control and to let them do their own thing. And then the other big thing that I'm remembering from last time was this year for you at school, there have been a lot of last minute changes in just the curriculum and school in general. And for you like having that predictability and having things up front. And so you didn't realize just how stressful all of those changes had been for you, and really what that had been contributing to you not feeling happy at work. And so I'm so excited to hear, now that it's been a few weeks and you've learned the assessment results and you've taken it back to the real world and at school, and I just cannot wait to hear about what you have done with this information that you know now.
Well, I have way more than I thought originally that I would have noticed or put into application. The very first one that was a real easy thing to identify and implement was because I teach a hands-on welding course. So in the shop, so of course safety is always at the forefront of your mind, which I think was driving my micromanaging, because you're always on kind of high alert, listening for things that seem off, because we'll have 20 kids using multiple pieces of equipment at once, and being in tune with what's going on is really important. But I was taking it a bit too far as really looking critically at every student, like, what are you doing? Instead of, it was kind of just a mind shift. But I think that wanting to make sure they were safe was clouding my, okay, they're being safe, and I need to let them learn through failure. If they cut a piece of metal wrong, they can recut it. We have a system for tracking that information. If they weld something completely wrong, they can cut the weld and redo it. So I had to really take a step back.
Yeah.
And I tell you, Nick, within 2 days, I could feel a difference in myself and the kids, because nobody likes somebody right there breathing down their neck and looking at everything they're doing. And so that was That was an immediate thing that I really didn't realize I was doing. And so that was really awesome.
Wow. I mean, that is so cool. So it's like micromanaging gone overboard when really your intent was just safety, but you were taking it to a whole different level. It was not just about safety. It was about like, you know, making sure they did it like exactly what you thought that they needed to be doing. And so relinquishing some of that control factor and just letting them mess up. And so you mentioned that immediately you noticed the change, like you could feel for yourself and you noticed it in your students. How did they respond? Like, were you able to pick up on it, or was it just like a feeling or an overall lightness in the room?
Well, I think there was definitely an overall lightness. But what really changed was, so I think you can kind of get in your head, right? This sort of angry teacher walking around looking for you to mess up. And so they were not going to come to me, not asking for help, not really wanting to interact with me, which, you know, once I could stand back, I was like, oh, yeah, so I'm giving them reason to not do what I want them to do. And so what I really noticed was much more of, okay, I'm at this point. The students would come to me and say, I'm at this point, I don't know what to do next. So it really opened up that dialogue. And what it's created now is, it's really kind of fun because I bounce from kid to kid. I felt like before I was doing like crisis management, because I think they were tense and nervous. And now it's more of, okay, I'll help you on the drill press. And then over here, we're going to go bend this metal and we're going to troubleshoot the bandsaw. And so it's much more of a cooperative, and you cannot believe what we're getting done. I mean, it's just a better environment. So that's been really, it's been really, really good. And it's changed when they make mistakes. When it's a safety issue, I'm pretty hard on them. But when it's just you welded all those bars in the wrong place, I say, okay, we're going to change the design of your table, because in the long run, it doesn't really matter. So it changed my whole just perspective on things. And it's been way better in both of my classes. I teach it 2 times a day. So a much better environment for everybody, I think.
And how about that? Like, how long are your classes? 50 minutes or so?
Yep. So they're 56 minutes.
A major improvement in 2 hours of your day, 5 days a week.
Yeah. And so I teach 5 hours a day. So that's, you know, I mean, 40%. That's a pretty big shift.
Yeah, that's huge. Cool. Yeah. Okay, what else?
Okay, so this might seem a little bit odd considering what we just talked about, but remember when we talked about the stress triggers?
Yes.
So for me, it was a challenge. I'm looking at my notes. A challenge to authority, lack of control over the process, unorganized environment, and working with individuals that I can perceive as either unskilled or disrespectful, which sometimes is kind of hard to determine what those things are.
Yeah.
So when we originally were talking and we talked about the micromanaging, I said, I don't understand why I can do that so well in my other classes, where I basically give them the guidance and then I turn them loose on this lab that involves expensive equipment and chemicals or things like that. But I couldn't understand why it was okay not micromanaging in that environment and then going into the shop. Well, so we talked about some of the things with safety and how that might have clouded it. But I think the real challenge that I was having in shop is that those other factors are huge in there. So the clientele, I guess we could call them, challenged my authority more than my other 3 classes combined. And whether that is because I'm in a male role and I'm a female, it doesn't really matter. I don't know why it is, but it's a daily challenge of my authority. Some lack of control over the process, which I think I'm becoming okay with. Very, very unorganized environment, and it's not my shop. It's shared by 3 people.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I can see that
where
for you. You would probably lay your stuff out very differently. You'd have like an organized flow knowing your personality traits. And in this case, it's not. It's you have to bend to whatever's there.
and it's different theories or different methods or and in my classroom, it's my classroom. It's very organized. Things are where they are. It's structured. It's consistent. So on a daily basis, just dealing with that unorganization, which, as you can imagine, 20 kids in a shop environment, we have 7 classes a day,
Yeah.
3 instructors. It's just how it is. But what happened was I really started to realize once we got into the shop, my level of dissatisfaction with work, even though I was really feeling better about the micromanaging part, it still was very present.
Mm-hmm.
And it started to affect my relationship with my coworkers because we shared this space. So it probably took, I would say, a solid month of kind of going through this, and I actually decided to no longer teach the shop class.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, this is big.
Yeah, very big. So I realized, and it was not an easy decision. And of course, I had to talk with my teaching partners and really share with them, my concerns and deal with my own personal feelings of failure, because admitting that something is not a good fit sometimes feels just like a failure.
Yeah.
And so in talking with them, my coworkers, as well as with my husband, Tim actually had the best advice or best comment. He said, "You're not a failure. You are completely competent of teaching the content. Yep. You have demonstrated you can be successful with these kids building projects. It just makes you miserable." And so because I can weld and I can get them to build something, but because of the 4 stress triggers that were identified, they're all 4 there every day.
And that's too much. That's too much.
Yeah. So no matter how much I went to yoga, how often I went to church, how much really self-care, 2 times a day, for 2 hours out of the 5 that I interact with students or, classroom environments, just really a struggle. And so thankfully we have, because we teach such diverse courses, there are other courses that I can teach that won't have those to the degree. Of course, they're always going to be there to some extent, but I won't have to share a workspace. And I won't have to deal with freshman boys, because that challenge of authority and disrespect, it's just kind of who they are. And I get that, but I don't.
Not only are you a teacher, I heard what you said earlier about, you're a teacher, so these kids are going to challenge your authority anyway, but I feel like it's pretty big, for, like I heard you say that, you are a female in this predominantly male. I mean, there's truly not a lot of females that have the gift of knowing how to weld and things like that. And I mean, there are definitely, obviously, how to do it. There are definitely women out there that do know how to do it, but that's not what comes to mind of these, young boys. And so, boom, you have challenge of authority being a teacher. Boom, you're a woman doing things that they are used to, thinking that you're not qualified for, which, I can definitely see how that would be a major stressor. And kudos to you for just really being honest with yourself. And I understand the whole thought of feeling like you failed. And I couldn't agree with your husband more about, it's not that you failed. I mean, you clearly are skilled in those areas, and probably if it was your arena and you got to outlay the shop and it was, a different circumstance of maybe peers you were teaching, you probably would enjoy it a lot more. And just to recognize, and actually recognizing is one thing, taking action and saying this part isn't working for me, I mean, that's monumental. So kudos to you for that.
Well, I really feel like it was, this year has been a huge growth year for me on many levels for a lot of different reasons. But I was at the point, Nick, where I was like, I want to leave the profession. And through, doing this, I reached out to a lot of peers, of course, and everything, but really through doing this personality assessment, there was a lot that I knew. There were some things I didn't want to know or didn't want to hear.
Sure.
I feel like it really opened my eyes to start having some different thought processes that I would not have had before. And I was ready to leave the profession. And I had people say, you can't leave, and I have been very, very successful. And in my heart, I didn't think I didn't know what else I wanted to do, but I didn't want to continue the way that it was.
Yeah.
And so I'm very thankful for this, and you'll be so thrilled. So I'm doing a career unit with my vet science kids, and I had him do just some little personality things. But because of going through this process, I was able to talk to them about myself and how working with others, and how I try not to shut down my husband's ideas as soon as he says them. I try to not always be focused on the end result and just the task that's being done. I am much more aware of, because I can be very efficient and very succinct, that a lot of times that doesn't account for people's feelings, which is not my intention, but
Sure.
definitely, and so it's just in so many ways been helpful. And as I was rereading through it, I was reminded of other things that that came up that I had kind of forgotten, but have definitely seen a change in things. So I'm excited to bring this to, I will be the president of the Ag Teachers Association. Mm-hmm. And we have a board of, I can't even remember, it's like 12 to 15 board members. And we'll have a very large number of new board members. And so I want to use this tool at our training, our officer training.
Yeah.
Because we're a big team, and we need to understand each other and ourselves better. And I really feel like I'm probably not the only one who has some workplace frustration.
Yeah. Probably not. Yeah.
And being able to share my testimony about how this whole process really opened things up for me. I think that's huge, and I am a big believer in sharing, even though sometimes you have to be really vulnerable. But I want other people to have that same benefit.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so true. Like when you talk about, it's such a big growth period for you this year, and then having this as an extra tool, I'm delighted that you feel that way. I'm so glad that's been helpful. And gosh, if we all just spent a little bit of time paying attention to these things, I mean, the world, I feel like, would be different. And we're not going to solve every problem with these tools, but gosh, we can solve a lot of them, and we can really focus on doing, making that better for ourselves, which there's a ripple effect to that. I mean, you saw it in the classroom, mm-hmm. the response from your students, and probably the future response from your husband from not shutting down his ideas all the time. There really is a ripple effect at play here.
I literally said to him, we're planning a bathroom remodel. And so I have this kind of a little off the wall idea. And so I said, could you not be me and not shut me down in the first 30 seconds of this conversation? So, I've been able to take it in stride and just recognize those things about myself. And just, I kind of just accept that is who I am, but I surely am in control of, how I deal with things. And, and I also, look at some of these, all the things that were identified in the personality report. And it was a little bit against what I thought I wanted to do, you know, making the change. I love the teaching shop because it's a task-oriented project.
Sure.
It's a tangible, and that's very fitting to my personality.
Yes.
So to let go of that, but it was like, well, at what cost? And so I will be, you know, focusing in areas that, you know, maybe aren't as exciting as that kind of project-based type thing. But over the long term, I wasn't going to make it in that stressful environment. And so it was, you know, being able to see, okay, yeah, that's why I like that class so much, but then also realizing, you know, maybe I teach it to, you know, women through community college, teach them welding or project construction, or maybe at a junior college level, maybe not now, or maybe another time. But so just that awareness has been huge. I have a great peace over my decision, and I'm thankful for, you know, being able, luckily working at a school and working with individuals that are willing to see where my strengths are and help me focus on them instead of, you know, really, you know, fighting the system.
Yeah.
And I know that's not everybody's going to have that good of opportunity, but
that's true. And plus you liking to have that tangible output, that task orientation stuff, you can incorporate that into other places in your life. And so hopefully with your newfound energy level, you can use some of that to do something that's task oriented, like your bathroom remodel. That's very tangible result, or different projects like that could really give you that satisfaction in that area that you might need.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, anything else that you would add?
I was really excited to share that with you, because and realizing it takes some time to really see, you know, initially I was like, oh, okay, well, I got the micromanaging thing kind of under control. I, you know, looking at being more open to people's opinions, not always focused on the task. And those were very important, and had an almost immediate impact. But I think that they were a little superficial to what the bigger issue I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And so it did take some time. And, you know, I was willing to be like, I'm good with the initial stuff. And so it was really interesting when I went back and looked at that list of 4 stressors, all 4 were there. And so it does take some time and looking back to really, I think, reap the most benefit out of this.
Sure.
Yeah, very, very thankful for the opportunity to do this.
I am so thankful as well. I'm mostly thankful for the outcome that you've had, and that you took the time to take the assessment, to reflect on it, and then to implement it. It's really, really, really awesome. It's the whole point, and having fun with it, you know, adding a little humor into it. And then I'm so thankful that it has worked out well for you.
Me too.
By using scientifically validated personality and career assessments, Truity has helped thousands of people understand their interests and personality traits to help them find the right career for them and understand how they work best. And the result? You're happier and more productive at work. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. And if you're ready to take your own Type Finder for the Workplace assessment, click on the link to save 20%.